Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm down here at Cockle Bay on this Friday, and it's a magnificent, awesome spring day here in Sydney. As you can see, the skies are blue, the breeze is gentle, and the temperature is mild. It's a wonderful start to a Friday, and I'm heading off to a meeting in Pyrmont. I'll be starting at 8:30, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to once again reconnect with my friends and family and deliver yet another book summary in the tradition of Jim's 5am Club, so that we can add another element to the group, or to the inventory, should I say, of OPE, other people's experiences, to enable us to consider and to broaden our perspectives, to try and live a better life. So today's book summary is one that relates to sales and how to be a better influencer, to not only influence others but also to influence yourself. Because the author here, whose name is Jack Collis, says that you basically can never outperform your self-image, which is a powerful and very profound statement indeed. If there's one lesson that we can take from this book without going any further, is that we need to shape our perceptions, because our perceptions become our reality. And those perceptions can be shaped by the way you think, how you interpret things, your heuristics, the way you decide to interpret things, and that in turn shapes your reality. Because it's important to realize that we all have very unique and different lives. We all live a different past, a very different past, even if you're an identical twin, even if you're joined at the hips to your partner, to your family, to your friends, to your workmates. We have all lived an entirely different past. We are going to live a completely different here and now. I am here, you are somewhere else, and no doubt we're all going to live and experience a different future. And along the way, we are going to inherit and create our own slithers of reality, because nobody can live everybody else's life. Nobody can be everywhere at the same time. So we are wired to take in slithers of reality, just slithers. You don't get the full picture. You'll just get little glimpses of what is real, and it becomes your reality. And those glimpses, those slithers that we either inherit from other people, or we generate ourselves through our own interpretations on what is going on in the world around us, will shape, as we said, our worldview, will shape how we see things, and will influence deeply how we act, how we behave, how we feel, and how we express the gift of our creation. So it's important to understand that we all have different lives, and what I try to bring to each and every person through this project called Jim's 5am Club, my YouTube channel, is the ability to incorporate OPE, other people's experiences, into our own lives so that we can compare and contrast our slithers of reality with other people's slithers of reality. And those slithers may have come from different times, from different eras, from completely different disciplines. But what it will allow us to do is to baseline and benchmark what we see and what we think and what we perceive with what others perceive, think and see, to give us a sense of certainty that what we're seeing, what we're believing, what we're experiencing is indeed real, or is indeed a true representation of what is real. Because each of us, when it's all said and done, is defined through our relationships with others and with our environment. If it was just us in the world, then it would be boring, it would be difficult, it would be impossible. You would not have an identity because you wouldn't have an identity to compare to. You wouldn't have other people, other viewpoints to compare yours to. And you could absolutely go crazy, I would say. So let's get on with this book summary, following the long-ish sort of introduction. But Jack Collis put together this book called The Great Sales Book, which will touch on a few of these things that we've just mentioned. And Jack kicks off the book summary by suggesting that people do business with people, and people do business with people that they like. People do business with people who share the same interests and have a certain charisma or an ability to connect with them and other people. So what Jack suggests here is communication is the key. What you think is what you get. And as we said before, what you think will be reflected in how you act, how you behave, how you communicate, and how you connect. And you can never outperform your self-image. So what Jack is suggesting here is that if you have a low self-esteem or a low self-image, if you see yourself in a particular way, then both consciously and, more importantly, subconsciously, you're going to transmit the way you see yourself to other people, and they're going to pick up on those subtle clues, and it will either make or break your sales opportunity, your ability to influence them. Because if they see you as a fake, or if they feel that you're incongruent in terms of what you're saying, what you're doing, from what your behavior clues suggest, then you're going to have a credibility issue. People are going to think that you're not authentic, you're not real, and that you're just fake and putting it on. So people buy, according to the author here, based on emotion. Even though we are created with a rational soul, the reality is that people are emotional and they let feelings dictate who they are, how they behave, and how and when they buy. And the marketers of the world, the great marketing people, the great salespeople in the world, know that this is so and are able to leverage their knowledge of how people behave and how the mind works and how people buy and influence the environment, the sales environment, the purchasing environment, so that they influence the decision-making process. So what I'll do now is I'll continue along my way, but I'll just step down and walk around, make my way to the CFMEU headquarters to have the delegates meeting today. So based on this knowledge that people make decisions, important decisions, everyday decisions, more so about how they feel rather than what they logically believe, is an important input. It's an important ingredient for each and every one of us to know, to consider, and to be aware of. And the author goes on to also say that even if you know all these things, success is limited to the price each person is willing to pay in life, the price one's willing to invest, the pre-work that one is required to put in, the amount of listening that one needs to do before they can respond, before they can shape their offer, their solution, their proposal to a person's problem. So we all need to pay a price according to this author, and it's important to acknowledge that, to understand it, and to not feel that a great salesperson is just a person who can just blabber on. So what the author here is saying is that the great salespeople know that the more emotion a story has, the more engaging it will be. So it's all about being a storyteller. It's all about understanding how to weave emotion into your narrative to get people hooked and people committed to your cause, to your narrative. And you see it happening all the time on social media. You see it happening on the media, on television, how the media channels, how the reporters, how the journalists are able to use and put a spin on stories to make them emotional, to trigger people's emotions, to trigger people's fear, uncertainties and doubts, in order to manipulate and to shape and to influence an outcome. The author here reminds us that perception is reality. I remember hearing this very early on in my career when I worked at IBM in those heady days when IBM was one of the greatest companies in the world. Perception is reality. Our perception, the heuristics that we use, how we interpret what is going on, eventually becomes not only our reality, but the reality that we are basing our decisions on, the reality that we have our worldview supported on. So the big question is, are we shaping our perceptions, or are we being shaped by other people's perceptions? So the key message from this author, so the next key point to come from this book is, are the perceptions that you have empowering or disempowering? Remembering that you can choose how you interpret what is going on in the world around you. It's not other people's interpretations that shape our world, but how we interpret what is going on. So once again, I'll just head over to the edge here and continue this vlog. Once again, perception. It's all about perception, and we can shape and we can reframe our perceptions as well. Just because our families, our friends, our cultures, our work buddies, our teachers, our school environment, our religion, just because we have been living in those sorts of environments, doesn't mean that we have to take on, doesn't mean that we have to absorb, doesn't mean that we have to inherit other people's viewpoints and other people's narratives. We are responsible and have a duty for our own lives. Each person has a duty and a responsibility for their own lives, which means that we have a responsibility and a duty to form perceptions and to attach meaning to things that are going to help us grow and develop, rather than to hold us back. Because unless you're living your life, unless you're making your decisions, unless you're shaping your perceptions in a way that are serving you, then you're basically living a lie, you're living somebody else's life, and it's only a matter of time that you're going to look back over your life and be disappointed with the decisions that you've made. So the key message here is that we need to be careful of the interpretations that we place on things, and to be mindful that we can shape whatever message we want on every experience that comes our way. And it's better to be optimistic rather than being pessimistic, because if you're pessimistic, the interpretation that you place on something will force you to live it twice. You'll experience it for the first time, and then you'll worry and kick yourself about it time and time again. You're better off having living with positive expectancy and seeing the positive aspect to the things around us rather than the negative things, so that you can enjoy your life. Because as we said before, if you're pessimistic, your confirmation biases will be fulfilled. If you're optimistic, your confirmation biases will be fulfilled. Whatever you believe, your reticular activating system will scour the universe looking for evidence to support your belief system. So if you've got a negative belief about something, you will find the evidence, there's no doubt about it. But if you've got a positive view of something, you will also find evidence to support that position as well. So be smart in terms of how you live your life. Live with positive expectancy, knowing that whatever you believe, whatever you think, will be manifest and fulfilled, because we are designed in a way for our brains, for our reticular activating systems, to fulfill whatever ideas we have, whatever narratives we carry, and that will either serve us or destroy us, according to this author and according to modern psychology. So what the author is saying here is that if you're able to listen to your client, to your friend, to your children, to the people in your life, you're able to then understand what their perceptions are, or what is shaping their decision-making processes. And then you can take that knowledge through the questioning that you have and shape your offering to move, to reposition, to reframe their perception, to make it easier to sell something to them. Because people buy for three reasons: to solve a problem that they have, or a problem that they think they have. So as a salesperson, it's important to try and identify what problems they have, real and imagined, or to help them identify problems that they didn't know that they have, and help them solve it. So it's all about problem solving and listening for clues in terms of how to position what you want to sell, or what you want to solve, in a way. And people also buy in order to feel good. So what we're saying here is that people don't buy for logical reasons. As we said, now we're designed, we're created with a rational soul. But economics informs us, people's behaviours inform us, that people don't do things for rational reasons. You know, at the end of the day, we live and we are imprisoned by our irrational fears, and hence this irrationality is something that drives us and has a heavy influence on us, and is basically, you know, a prison that people live in throughout their lives. So what the author here is saying is that rather than being too logical, what's more important as a salesperson is to try and play on people's feelings, to make people feel good, to make people laugh, to make people feel relaxed, to make people feel empowered, I guess is one way of saying it, to make people feel stronger and better about themselves. But we also need to understand another thing, and the author makes this point, and it's a powerful point, that we're not idiots. People aren't stupid, and people don't want to be sold. Hence why it's important to be very suggestive in the messaging, in your approach, rather than to be prescriptive, to be suggestive and to lead people to a solution, to help them decide on what's right for them, rather than to try and shove it down their throats. And it's a bit rich, you know, to be in another country, to be in another culture, to be in a sovereign nation, and to want to shove your narrative down other people's throats. I don't know about you, but I've had a gut full of this, because when I watch soccer, when I watch rugby league, when I watch rugby union, or when I watch cricket, when I watch sports throughout the world, I watch it to see a competition. I don't watch it to have people shove their narratives, their identity politics down my throat. So, there's a place and time for everything. We all believe in free speech, but it needs to be done at the right time and via the right channels. And to try and impose your views on other people in other countries who have different belief systems is very rich indeed, and quite immature and quite stupid. So as we're saying here, nobody wants to be sold, and what I'm suggesting here is this love is love narrative is trying to sell people on something that they may be opposed to. And the more you try and shove it down their throats, the more they're going to push back, and the less of an impact you're going to have, and basically it's going to be just a waste of time. So the author goes on to say that our bodies act out what our minds are thinking. So it's important to show interest in others so that they can show interest in you as well. It happens all the time, once again, people respond better to people who show interest in them, want to ask them stories about how they're going or questions about how they're going, rather than to hear about what you're doing and all that sort of stuff, because it's all about the what if. It's all about the what's in it for me. Anyway, I think we're almost at the end of it. So the author here talks about the power of what if, and he calls it what ifing, because the what ifing technique is a powerful tool, a powerful way of solving problems. And we need to ask the what ifs to create scenarios, because as we know, as we've been informed time and time again, we humans are teleological in nature, and we love solving problems. So pose problems, pose scenarios to people, and that the brain will just go away and manifest solutions, answers, because that's how we're wired. The more questions you ask, the more answers your brain will try and figure out and go and solve. So we need to be great listeners, is what the author is suggesting, and to plan and prioritise ourselves. I can just see some Brazilian supporters here heading into the city. They played Serbia this morning. I watched the match for part of the morning, and I saw at one point that Brazil was leading 2-0, which is okay, but I guess my long-term pick for the World Cup in Qatar is for Spain to win it this time round. We'll see how we go, but unless you have a pick, it doesn't make it all that interesting. So that's about it. So thank you very much for taking some time to join me on yet another Jim's 5am Club, to be part of this journey of learning and discovery, where we live, learn and pass it on. Take care, have a happy Friday, looking forward to the weekend, and I hope you enjoy this wonderful day. and it's amazing. We started this vlog and it was clear blue skies all around, and now we've got cloud everywhere I look. It just goes to show how variable this weather here is in Sydney at this time of year. Take care everybody, yasas, and bye for now. Ciao ciao.